Texans get a win. They're 6 straight. Some surprising contributors. A lot of things to make note of and a lot of things to look at, not just in the present, but in the future. Let's talk about it. Another live post-game edition of The Locker Room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's The Locker Room on YouTube.
We'll do it live.
You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do.
6 straight win for the Texans. 6 straight win. You never apologize for winning, but we do break it down here in the Locker Room post-game show. It is The Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. You can see me, hear me here throughout the week. You can also see me, hear me on SNL Reaction Monday tomorrow, presented by the greatness that is TDECU. Shout out to TDECU. Get that Texans debit card, TDECU.org/Texans. 15% off team gear. You can maybe get that just in time for Christmas. Let's talk about this win. Let's talk about this win for the Texans. First and foremost, I think that it needs to be said, and this is one of my bigger takeaways. This is takeaway number one. Special teams was the difference today. We've talked about games, most notably the Jacksonville game, where the special teams effort had to be overcame by the defense and the offense. But in this instance, without this effort by Frank Ross's special teams, this is a relatively close game. It started right off the top with the return from Jalen Noel. He gave CJ Stroud and company, who, by the way, CJ Stroud, really good again today. But he gave them a short field to work with. And then on the very next kickoff, forced fumble by Jamal Hill into the arms of Dare Ogunbowale. That gave you a 10-0 lead. And they stopped the bleeding a couple of times. Most notably when the Cardinals had cut it to 16, Noel with the 69-yard return, and the Texans did their thing. Special teams today were beyond solid. They were fantastic, and that's my number one takeaway here is, you talk about complimentary football, and sometimes you roll your eyes after games. You're like, well, they didn't really contribute to the win, and there have been a couple of times there was that slump with Frank Ross's special teams, which have been really good the last couple of weeks, and were one of the elite traits of this team for most of his tenure. Today's effort was by far their best, and it eliminated the possibility of a much closer game than we probably thought we would have seen. So credit where credit is due, and we'll get to the TDCU where credit is due a little bit later on. But shout out to Frank Ross's special teams. I thought it was a very, 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 very encouraging effort by the special teams. Takeaway number two, and shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring the video. By the way, I said no McBride touchdown. So if you tell me you can still win the $100, but I said no McBride touchdown, I was really off on that. But when we do that every Monday, the Sleeper contest, you can put different picks and send it. I know they're not supposed to say it. They want you to tell. You don't have to tell me when it comes to gambling. But yes, McBride was a baller. If you have McBride in fantasy, you love him. If you're playing against McBride in fantasy, you hate him right now. This is how legends are built. McBride, he did his thing. Takeaway number two. We'll hear from Demeco Ryans in a second. Takeaway number two is Jawhar Jordan. And I don't want to make this a bad thing. I think it's a really good thing moving forward. I think this is a really good thing moving forward, what we saw from Jawhar Jordan. And quite frankly, Jawhar Jordan was one of the stars of this game. He will be a king of the turf, and I thought he looked fantastic. And in training camp, we talked about Jawhar Jordan, and you noticed that he had a little bit more burst, and you wondered, was he hurt the previous year? And he was on and off the field, so that was the case. The encouraging thing, let's start with the positive. This is glass half full, glass half empty, and we don't ignore in victory what we would not ignore in defeat around here, especially when you're trying to take the next step like the Texans. So takeaway one is he was freaking awesome. He was fantastic. He looked great. It almost looks like they opened up the playbook for Jawar Jordan. I felt like we were seeing some things that we really hadn't seen all year in regards to Woody Marks. And options are kind of limited when you have a Goombawale and Chubb who aren't really game breakers at the position. But takeaway one, Jawar Jordan looked fantastic. Jawar Jordan, quite frankly, I think Woody Marks, I think it's probably time to ice up. It might have been time to ice up heading into this game. He limped off the field, I think, no lie, for the 7th straight game. This time he did not return. It might be time to let Woody Marks relax and rest up for the Chargers game and get more of a look at Jawar Jordan. Because this, to me, is not something that just needs to be treated as, oh, this is a one-off. With a team that lacks running back playmaking, which is something that is something that I preach damn near 12 months a year, they need to get a look at this and see if this is something that they can use moving forward. They need multiple backs that can make plays. And Jawar Jordan doing what he did here, we've been looking at the running back market. Who can they add? Who can they add? Who can they add? Boom. A guy who was on and off the practice squad returns and does his thing. And quite frankly, probably the most overall explosiveness that we've seen from a running back all season. The thought of that and Woody Marks as like a combo, a 1-2 punch, pretty intriguing, about as good as you could expect as the season goes on and as everything goes down the stretch. That's encouraging. Should be happy about that. But we got to practice the Van Gundy formula here. We got to practice the Van Gundy formula here. We said this at camp, that Nick Chubb was by far the least explosive running back. And we included everyone. At the time, Dameon Pierce wasn't practicing. We included everyone. We said he is showing the least amount of explosiveness of anyone at camp. And Jawar Jordan never really got a look, despite the fact we all knew that the running back position was thin. Think about it this way. Dare Goombawale was taking up a roster spot for Jawar Jordan all year. By the way, that Dare Goombawale Wildcat thing, let's get rid of that, please. Nick Caley, rip that one up. Please. Please, please, please. The Dare Goombawale Wildcat, let's throw that away, please. I'm begging you, man. But Dare Goombawale was taking up a roster spot of Jawar Jordan all year. And I know he's a special teamer. I know when he's called upon, he does his thing. That's great. You hand the ball to him. You need him to kick, whatever. Cool. Jawar Jordan, when he was called upon, he gave you 100 yards in a game that you needed to stay in the playoff picture. That guy wasn't even going to see the field. And furthermore, if Nick Chubb doesn't get hurt, we don't see this. It's a great element that they have, but think about this. With as much as we've talked about the running back position, if Nick Chubb does not get hurt, we do not see Jawar Jordan. We do not see a 100-yard performance. We do not see a new element to the offense. So as encouraging as this is, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. It's still kind of discouraging that that's what it took for us to see this. Takeaway 3, this is a teachable win. You want these. This is a teachable win. I know Demeco Ryans is not going to be overly pleased by what happened on defense. I know there's still stuff to work on in the red zone. He still has his team's attention, and his team responded today. There was no letdown. It was complimentary, even if the largest piece of pie was taken by special teams. But this is a teachable win for Demeco Ryans, and he still has his team's attention heading into a game against Las Vegas before you take on the Chargers. And by the way, if you didn't know, speaking of the Chargers, ding dong, the Chiefs are dead. They're gone. They will not be in the playoffs. The Chargers ended them. So Kansas City, flip and switch, all that, gone. The Texans stuck the knife in. The Chargers twisted it. The end. The Chiefs' run is over. Takeaway 4, toughness. The toughness of this football team. It's a word that we hear quite often. It's a word that we hear quite often. Toughness. A lot of toughness by this Texans team. Kamari Lassiter gutting it out. Interception. physicality, all that. I don't think I want to see Kamari Lassiter doing backflips with the hurt foot. But outside of that, toughness. Woody Marks, I know he limped off again, and they kept him off the field. He seemed kind of pissed. He wanted to go back in. Toughness. He gutted it out. The toughness of this squad, it shined again. I do hope we get into the ice-up territory, but there is no disputing. You can say a lot about this team, but you can't take away their toughness. This is a tough squad. And takeaway 5, taking our eyes off our own paper before we hear from Demeco Ryans right here in the Locker Room postgame show. Disappointing scoreboard watching. Buffalo, they pull it off against New England despite New England getting off to a big lead early. So the possibility of going to Buffalo in the playoffs, which I think is the worst case scenario, despite the success that you've had. And this is a beggars can't be choosers type of situation. That is still alive. Jacksonville takes care of business. Now, maybe the Chiefs getting taken care of is something that you would have rather had than the Chargers, which I could understand. But other than that, no major favors when it came to the scoreboard, and the Jags, they just completely rolled the Jets. I don't know if the Jets even want to win. So that's where we're at. Shout out to everyone in the chat. SNL, by the way, we will be live at BB's Kingwood again this Friday. College football playoff starts. Maybe we'll hang around and watch that. I'm thinking about putting something together for Saturday too. Let me know if you would show up in the Houston area on Saturday to watch some college football. Let me know, because I'm thinking about just a random ass hang on Saturday with Stoots and a few others, but we will be live at BB's Kingwood this Friday. Hope to see you there. Shout out to everyone that brought a toy this week to Spanky's. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. Let's hear what Demeco had to say. His team wins. I got a feeling that Demeco is not going to like everything about the defense, but a dub is a dub. Let's hear from the head coach of your Houston Texans, Demeco Ryans, live right here in the Locker Room postgame show.
Praise, honor, and glory to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thankful, as always, for what he's allowed us to do, what he allows our team to do. Just continue to believe, continue to fight through any battle, any adversity we've faced, and continue to come out on top. So we're really proud of our guys, proud of our coaches, our team coming out today, playing true complementary football, handling this game the proper way, and finishing how we know how to finish.
What do you think about your performance and how the running game really helped elevate you all on offense?
Jawar did an outstanding job for us, for the young man to come in and for his first game to have a debut like he had. I mean, of course, he broke a record, most yards as a Texan in a debut game. He ran the ball very, very well, efficient, showed the explosiveness, showed the speed that he has and that we've seen, in practice and he's been on practice squad for us. It just shows again, like, whenever your number is called, are you ready for that opportunity? And no one knows until you get that moment. And it's about you taking advantage of that moment and not looking back. And I thought Jawar handled it very well.
How rare is it for a guy to go off the practice squad and make that much of an impact the first time to elevate it and put on to do it and ask to make some plays?
Yeah, there are a ton of guys in this league that have made it, right, being undrafted, practice squad, and when they get their opportunity, like, they make the most of it and they don't look back. I mean, I just look at Aziz, and he was a guy who was, undrafted, right, and he found a way to break into the league and become a starter just when he was given the opportunity. Like, he did an outstanding job of it. And Jawar, just taking advantage of what you've been given. You never know how guys will respond, but we've seen flashes of it in practice. For him to come out and do it today, it was really, really cool to see, and really proud of him for just staying the course. It's easy to get discouraged. Like, when you're not getting called up, it's easy to get discouraged, but I think he's handled himself the right way every week, and he's taken advantage of today.
Could you please explain? I thought, at least from my perspective, maybe, and you had a closer view, when they said Blake did not report as eligible, because I thought I saw him walk up to the cleat, do the motion, and they went through a whole play, and then also we come back and said number 57 did not report, and I'm sitting there trying to understand, when did he not report? Because I saw him go up to him. Could you explain, or what did Cleat tell you after the play?
Thank you for seeing that. No, Blake has done a great job of reporting every time that he's went into the game, and I think he does it every day in practice. He's looking back at me reporting. He's looking back when we do have a practice officials at the game in practice. He looks back at those guys. He makes sure he reports every single time. So not quite sure what happened there, but something we'll just look at, make sure we're on it every single time to make sure we're looking to receive the referee in the eye, making sure we have the proper eye contact and making sure he sees that we're reporting eligible.
Can you talk about what's working for the offensive line? I mean, obviously you talk about Jordan, but it all starts up front. What are they doing right? And is this group just getting more comfortable being together?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at the film, but from my vantage point, it looked like we were finishing blocks a little bit better today. Still always room to clean some things up, but for the most part, I thought we finished better. Therefore, we were able to have, I think, a better average in the run game today.
Maybe more explosive back too.
Earlier in the week and in previous weeks about the offensive operation being cleaner and the sense of urgency. Just curious from your vantage point how that, and obviously you guys scored 40 points. There was still a little bit left out there on the red zone, but you guys obviously were productive. What did you see in terms of the operation and how clean you guys were?
Our operation was really really great today. CJ, starting with CJ, I thought he did a great job of managing the operation, pre-snap, in and out of the huddle. Like, he did an outstanding job today. It starts with him. It starts with Kaylee getting the calls in, going to CJ. I thought the communication was seamless. I thought the guys did a great job communicating, breaking the huddle, getting lined up. And that, that's low-hanging fruit for us, right? And we did a better job of improving that. And now we got to find a way to still finish. There's still some things that we left out there, not only on the offensive side, but on the defensive side as well. We left a lot of plays out there that we just have to keep playing up to our standard, right? And that's all. That's what we judge ourselves against, the standard. The standard, doesn't change. So we'll continue to look at the tape intently to see where we can get better. I do want to compliment our special teams for Jamal Hill, the way he came out on kickoff and really set the tone for our special teams unit. That's what we needed. We needed that big play. One of our keys to victory was taking the ball on special teams. He comes out and he does that. So it was great to see him make an impact play there. And also for our blocking unit, all the guys did a great job of blocking, allowing Jay Noel to hit some explosive returns. Something we've been missing a lot.
Like that.
In our return game, we've been one guy away.
He knows.
And I felt like we did a great job of sustaining our blocks today. And when we do it the right way and we do it well, we have an explosive returner that can flip the field for us. So really proud of our special teams. Not only them, Tommy did an outstanding job punting the football, giving us a backed up op. We're able to go 3 and out there late in the game and capitalize with points. So it's beautiful to see it done the right way. So really proud of everybody.
Play where Woody dove in for a touchdown, was that purposeful?
Of course, it was designed perfectly ran play. Right, we wanted to snap it right back to Woody. No, yeah, we got to put that one in. No, it's sometimes the ball has to bounce your way a little bit there.
What?
A little miscue there with Jake and CJ and Woody, very heads up play to be able to just get on the ball, press forward, and get in the end zone. Not how you draw it up, but sometimes when things are going your way, you need some plays like that to happen. And so I'm happy.
Damn, he should have lied, man. He should have lied and said they did that on purpose. I would have believed him. It went so perfect. I would have believed him. Man, what?
We were able to get on the ball, most importantly. Yeah, Woody could have came back in the game, but for where he was, he got his ankle tweaked a little bit there early in the game. So for where he was, felt like Jawar, right, and Dare were doing a really good job. So I wanted to just keep rolling with those guys and make sure Woody is good as we keep.
He iced him up. Dude, me and Demeco are on the same page. Same page.
Collective effort today. 140 on the ground. CJ Stroud, no interception. Offensive line, clean game from that unit. But 8 different receivers touched the ball today. CJ did a good job of spreading the ball out, stepping up in the pocket to make plays, extending plays. Was that a part of the game plan this week to make sure everybody kind of touched the ball? Or from your view, what were some of the things that CJ Stroud did today to help the offense score points?
And CJ played very clean, efficient game. I thought he did. What I'm most proud of him is I think he did a great job of just his decision making. When it comes to the plays, it's not that he's just looking or staring at one person. He's going through his progression the right way, and you'll see multiple guys catch the ball and make plays because he's not just eyeing in on one single target. He's going where the play dictates for him to go, what the coverage tells him. He's making the right decisions, and that's where he's grown. He's improved a lot, and I'm excited to see him. Like, since he's come back, each week he's gotten better each week. And so probably the best game he's had this year, right? Our entire offense has done a great job protecting the ball. We have to continue to do that, protect the ball. And on defense, special teams, take the ball away, we get opportunities. And that's how you go out and win games.
DeMeco, I just wanted to ask you about your interior defensive linemen. I know your edge guys get a lot of attention. We've asked you about them before, but could you just talk about how they complement each other just across the board, the interior guys, with your outside guys, so everybody else knows?
Yeah, our defense doesn't go without our interior guys playing big for us, right? Starting with Rankins, Tommy, like they do an outstanding job. Rio steps in. Like, we roll those guys a lot, try to keep them as fresh as possible, and they do a great job. We understand we have some difficult run schemes that we'll see, a lot of gap run schemes that people try to attack us with, and those guys do an outstanding job playing with awareness, but also still playing physical, right? Getting after it, condensing the pocket, allowing our edge rushers to do what they do, right, and really swarm on the edges. But we can't play great defense without those guys up front. So I thought, Coach Rod has done a great job, working with that entire D-line, and really hats off to the interior guys where it's grimy, it's tough on the inside. They don't get a lot of love, but they are the most important piece for us.
This was one of the more balanced performances on offense, and largely because the running game played really well. Do you feel like that may be the key to you all really unlocking the potential that y'all have on offense?
The run game is always the key for me. It's like we were able to execute it better today, but that's always the key going in. Like, you have to be able to run the football really well, no matter who you're playing against, no matter where you're playing. So to see it like show up today, hopefully the guys understand that's the formula. We just have to stick with it.
Got to keep Jawar in the mix, don't you?
I know the balance offense attack is good. Can you just talk about Nico Collins making another milestone, 30 in a row, 1,000 yards? What he means to this team, this offense?
That's a big playmaker. Nico is unstoppable. I mean, he does a great job. Anytime the ball is in his vicinity, like I know he's some type of way he's coming down with the football. He a guy who doesn't say much, but he's had an outstanding year again. Like, and we're not even done. And then he's, eclipsed that 1,000-yard mark again. I was just proud of him for how he shows up, the consistency at which he operates with every single week, the joy that he brings and shows up with, the smile, the energy on his, like, it's unmatched. So you love to see a guy like that doing well. All right. He's not able to do that without CJ, him finding that connection. So they've done a really great job, and got one call back on one of his biggest plays. I hate that for him, but he shows up no matter what the coverage is, no matter who he's up against. He's always going to show up big for us in any game.
6 wins in a row, what is just your overall thoughts on how you guys have been able to win 6 games in a row and position you guys yourself to be able to potentially win the AFC South?
Yeah, for me, I know you guys don't want to hear this. I didn't even know it was 6 in a row until you just told me.
He's lying about that.
It's truly it's that one game at a time mentality, man. Nobody wants to hear it, but that's what I believe. That's all what we can control is one game at a time. Come out, handle business, right, each week. That's what we have to keep doing down the stretch here. We got to go out, handle business. I told our guys, you go out, handle business each week, and you're just putting yourself in a better spot. So you just keep going out, controlling what we can control, not really focused on, all right, what everyone else in the AFC is doing. Focus on the Texans, focus on, stepping your game up and playing better. All right, thank you, guys.
He has to go hard over there. DeMeco's got to go hard. He knows it's 6 in a row. He does know how to keep the body language and all that of, hey, on to the next one. He does as good of a job of that as anyone. But come on, you won 5 in a row, 6 in a row. You heard it at some point. So he did know that. A couple of interesting things from DeMeco there here in the locker room post-game show. We'll get to that in a sec. First, though, let's go to the chat.
Swarm.
Zach Rose says, always been a Jordan fan. I would love to see him and Woody number 1, 2. Shout out Landry and friends, LFG Texans, 6 straight dubs. Tell that to Demeco. He said he didn't know. Look, the Jordan thing's interesting. Like he clearly had more juice than Nick Chubb in camp. If Nick Chubb doesn't get hurt, we don't see this, which is kind of discouraging given the fact that they haven't been able to run the rock. I think this is this is one of the more impactful blessings that you have. And sometimes you get blessings in disguise. Patriots didn't plan on Drew Bledsoe getting hurt, and then he ended up going in. I'm not sitting here saying Jawar Jordan's like Tom Brady, but sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you don't plan on drafting a guy, and then guys get drafted in front of him, and all of a sudden he falls into your lap. Nick Chubb getting hurt allows the Texans to see what they perhaps have in Jawar Jordan. I don't know if Jawar Jordan's a long-term thing. He's better than Nick Chubb. He's better than Dare Ogunbowale at running the rock. So when Nick Chubb and Ogunbowale are up there taking up roster spots, and then it takes Nick Chubb getting hurt to where we see Jordan, and we saw it today. When they were killing the clock, they were going to Jawar Jordan. So they trust him to run from the practice squad more than Dare Ogunbowale. They've just kind of been playing with fire when it comes to the running back depth. So yeah, Jordan and Chubb 1, 2. And you can, I'm not Jordan and Chubb, excuse me. Jordan and Marks. And maybe you can rest Marks next week. You might have some surprising juice and a little bit more to do at running back moving forward. Now, you're not always going to get to play the Cardinals. So you do have to take that in mind. And there were still some, you heard Demeco right there admit that was a busted ass play to Woody Marks. You couldn't really tell. You're like, damn, is Nick Caley gutsy? What's going on there? But he basically said, yeah, we screwed up, and sometimes the ball bounces your way. So they found the end zone there. Red zone still an area of concern, especially against good teams. But you took care of business. Special teams. You heard Demeco. He made sure to mention every special teamer by name. We talked about the first takeaway here was that special teams was the difference. Demeco mentioned Jamal Hill. Demeco mentioned the blocking. And Demeco mentioned Noel. So he mentioned that as well. But you can tell he still wants a little bit more from the offense. He wants to run the ball, which means you got to think Jawar Jordan's active for the rest of the season. What does that mean for Nick Chubb? Don't know. Like, does Nick Chubb become like the short yardage guy, the emergency guy? Don't know. But if Jawar Jordan is going to break the record for yards in a debut by a Texan, then yeah, I would think that he's probably going to be active. And fortunately for the Texans, Nick Chubb hurt his ribs. Not too serious, but it allowed you to get a look at Jawar Jordan. It allowed you to rest Woody Marks. That was another thing that Demeco mentioned, that Woody Marks could have gone back in the game, but he felt comfortable enough letting him rest. It was like the 8th game in a row that he's limped off the field. Tough son of a B, that Woody Marks. But there you go. You got a new element here. So how will they use it? I think that's an exciting thing. It just sucks that it took like someone hurting their ribs who we said from camp was clearly the guy with the least amount of juice. He plays, you're still able to win, and then you go out there. Other question is, do they win this game if Jawar Jordan's not on the field? I mean, it makes you think. You're thankful because moving forward, it really doesn't matter. But it goes back to the Van Gundy theory that we always practice around here. Shout out to the truth. Shout out to you, my friend. Evan says Stroud had a great game. Stroud had a good game against Kansas City. I thought I gave Stroud a B+ against Kansas City. He's been good. He's doing everything that he can, and a lot of his stuff that he's doing is despite the offense. I think even some of the plays that don't go in the box score were impressive from CJ Stroud. There was the one where he bought time and he threw the ball to Schultz. Catchable-ish for Schultz. Tough play to make, but the pass interference gets called. That brings it to the 1 yard line. Ends up throwing a touchdown pass later. Same thing as a touchdown pass. There were a couple of times where he bought time and then he threw the ball away. I thought CJ Stroud was fantastic. There was another time where he used his legs and that led to a closer field goal attempt. CJ was great. CJ's been great the last 2 weeks. The offense as a whole, you wonder, well, how will it look against good teams versus bad teams? You can wonder that. CJ Stroud, since he's come back, everything that you can realistically expect based on surroundings, based on rust, based on all that, the give and take that comes with CJ Stroud, he's been good. He was really, really good today. Really good today. We'll hear from him in a sec. The Truth says, what do you think about Woody and Jawar Jordan? I think that's your best duo moving forward. I think it's a blessing that you got to see what Jawar Jordan can do and what maybe a pulse of playmaking ability for a running back can be. Maybe they can blend it all in. But again, when you have Dare Ogunbowale and Nick Chubb taking up spots, you wonder, okay, is there any better options out there? And I'll be damned, it was a guy on the practice squad that had a record-setting performance there. So, yeah, I think it's good. It's great. That was one of the things that the Texans needed. You kind of felt like you're in no man's land. But if Jawar Jordan's going to give you that, he's not going to give you 100 plus every game, but if he's going to give you a pulse and he's going to give you an option to use the running back, by the way, it felt like they were using him more in the pass game than they do Woody Marks. But maybe those two kind of work off of each other. Solid. I would rest Woody Marks next week, get another look at Jawar Jordan. Maybe Nick Chubb comes back. But that's what I would do. Evan says, only thing and other teams didn't come through today. Yeah, the scoreboard watching did not go well. That was another thing. OM3RC says Nick Caley must hate looking incompetent. Yeah, he didn't look fantastic today. Nick. He didn't look fantastic today. The red zone wasn't great. I don't know what the Ogunbowale Wildcat is. That's just insane to me that he even tried that. There was a stretch, like it was a real weird stretch where it ended up getting bailed out, but I think Collins had his second touchdown, but Jawar Jordan runs hard on 3rd and 2, falls forward, and then you go to the Wildcat. I don't really understand it. ESG Soccer says, just want to say any issues that arise, it's JCU and Casario. DeMeco is our guy. D took an off day today and still won handily. Hashtag Spank Bros. We'll be back at Spanky's the 2nd. We will be at BB's Kingwood this week. We might be at Spanky's this weekend. I'm thinking about a college football, just random pop-up. Not like anything organized, just watching some games on Saturday, perhaps. But yeah, DeMeco, the defense, I know the defense, it's a teachable moment for Demeco Ryans. I just think the defense did what they needed to do. That's what the defense does what they need to do. Like if they're called upon to stop Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes in the clutch, they do it. If they can kind of take their foot off the gas against the Cardinals, I know it's a little bit frustrating. Now, they did stop them on 4th down, but there was the Petrie illegal contact, which could have been a little bit of a suspect call. But I don't look at this as like a down game for the defense. I will say that the special teams did the majority of the load. I don't look at this as a breakout for the offense. I think you had some dogs on offense, but I think they overcame the overall process of this offense. I don't know. Let me put it this way. Here on the Locker Room postgame show. And shout out to you, ESG Soccer. If the Texans were playing a better team, I think the defense does what they need to do. If they were playing a better team, I think the offense, we might be having a lot of questions with the overall process from Nick. Special teams, no complaints. Tazewell, shout out to Tazewell. He says, Landry, my friend's opinion, quote, this is always dangerous. A coach's guidance pales in comparison to a player's execution, but he doesn't think coaches have impact on how a team performs. Please tell him he's crazy. Yeah, that's a weird. I mean, I don't even like, he doesn't think a coach has an impact on how a team performs. I don't know. That sounds like someone who probably like coaches Little League or something like that and has like all the 12-year-olds who already hit puberty. I mean, obviously players can overcome coaches. Like there's no doubt about that. And the best coach with the worst players is still probably not going to win. So I think there's a gray area if that's what he's trying to say. Like if you take whoever you think is the best coach in football and you give him the worst roster, they're not all of a sudden going to win games. There's no guarantee on that. If you take the worst coach and you put him with the best players, yeah, there's a chance that the best players can overcome that. But to act like there's not some sort of gray area and it just doesn't matter who the coach is, I think that's a little bit dense. but maybe he is like a 12-year-old Pee-wee coach and all of his players have hit puberty, so he just rolls the ball out there. But yeah, that's kind of silly. Avenue.central says Dari gets 4-year extension for the fumble recovery. Was that not weird? So I was going to go to the game today, but here's what happened. I'll just explain this. First of all, being at the game doesn't matter. I think a lot of like the credentials, the people in the press box on game day, it's basically feds, FED, a fan experience disguised. A lot of them. I mean, they're just eating free food. They're not really doing anything. Some of them are just hanging out and all that. And it's not really, they're not gaining anything by being there except saying that they were there and getting like these expensive ass, probably like $50 buffets. And a lot of it can be kind of distracting. So there's a lot of feds on game day. Fan experiences disguised. But also I've had the same car since I've been covering the Texans. Just traded it in. I'm rolling in the range now. And normally I leave my credential in the middle console. I've done it the decade plus that I've been covering the team. So I roll, I pull up, I got my laptop, I'm walking to NRG and I'm like, fuck. The credential is not in here. So it was at the house. So by the time I came back, I was like, you know what? I don't need to be around a bunch of feds today. Fan experiences disguised. So I'm gonna just watch the game. I'm gonna cover it here like I do the road games, and the streams are more important anyways. So that's what happened there. Evan says, I've seen enough. Send Fisher to Philly too. Fisher, come on. DeMeco's defending him, saying that he checked in. I don't even know that he was offsides when he got the offsides either. I don't even know that he was really offsides. I think Schlereth didn't think he was. But to go back to the point that I had before that tangent, and shout out to WB, appreciate you, my friend. To go back to the point I had before I went on that bullshit tangent. Why were they giving Dare more credit? And maybe y'all notice. Tell me if y'all noticed this in the chat. Because I know that DeMeco and Frank Ross are always going to give Dare max credit no matter what. Like, no matter what, they're going to give him max credit. And I would also bet that in like meetings with TV teams, because I've heard that there are certain players that probably get a little bit more praise, like to where the coaches kind of create that buzz. And it's just based off them saying what they say. But did it not feel like they were giving Dare more credit for it than they were Jamal Hill? Did it not feel like Schlereth was given more credit and to Dare Ogunbowale for the ball popping in his hands than Jamal Hill for knocking the hell out of the kick returner? Did y'all not notice that? Because I did. And I was like, what is this? They were acting like Dare's the one who forced the fumble. It was Jamal Hill. Schlereth was like, yeah, Dare Ogunbowale. Hell of a play by him. All he does is make plays. That was Jamal Hill's play. It was a fine catch, but it fell right in his hands. The hit by Jamal Hill was crazy. HDAV Traveler says, did I call myself a Fed? I'm not a Fed. It's not a fan experience disguised. I can promise you. Always a purpose on SNL and Houston football when we go there. We'll go through the key moments in a sec. Texans get the dub 6 straight. DeMeco acted like he didn't know. He knows that. DeMeco's got the right mindset, but DeMeco knows that. We'll see you this Friday at BB's Kingwood. Also, perhaps Spanky's on Saturday to watch a little college ball, at least the A&M game. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if Stoots is down for that. He might be. We'll see. Let's hear from CJ Stroud. I thought CJ Stroud was fantastic. We'll hear from him in a sec. First, though, shout out to TDECU, the greatness that is for sponsoring Reaction Monday, everything that they do, and they do a lot. You can get that Texans debit card. All you got to do is go to tdcu.org/Texans, 15% off the team shop. If you don't want the Texans debit card, they got the Buckies. They got the Cougs. They got a lot going on. There's a lot of perks. Great place to do business. CJ Stroud is sponsored by them. So is SNL. Go to TDCU or TDCU.org/Texans. Membership required, insured by NCUA. We'll hear from CJ in a sec. First, in the spirit of TDCU, let's give some credit where it is due. Now, I'll pull back the curtain into the process of this. So the picture right there is Kamari Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter, tough son of a gun, that Kamari Lassiter. You heard Kirby Smart praise him when he was coming into the league. He's got a hurt foot. I think he was in a little bit of pain on Friday after practice. That's just my own observation. But he gutted it out. And that was the only day that he did practice. But he was out there for his squad. And I don't think we would expect anything different from Kamari Lassiter.
We in here talking about practice.
But he got the interception. He did the backflip. So I put him there. Originally, I was putting Jawar Jordan. I was starting to do the graphic like in the third quarter, and I had Jawar Jordan where Kamari Lassiter was. But then he started breaking records, so I said, okay, he might need to be a turf king. He might need to be one of the players of the game presented by Texans Turf. So Kamari Lassiter is number one. Number two, Jalen Knoll, 118 yards, I think it was, on 2 returns. Set up the offense for points multiple times. You can contribute 10 points if you choose to Knoll. For sure 3 after the 69-yard return when the Cardinals cut it to 2 possessions. And then Kyami Fairbairn. Only field goal that didn't go through the uprights today was blocked. And I also have Kyami Fairbairn as a representative of the kickoff team. This kickoff team was violent today. You had the Jamal Hill hit that forced the fumble that Dare Gumbawale got all the credit from the TV guys. And then you had the Christian Harris hit. I mean, they were awesome. Then the entire kickoff team was fantastic. And then you factor in Knoll. So 2 out of 3 of the TDCU where credit is due are special teamers. And then Kamari Lassiter, absolute dog, absolute freak, absolute psychopath, as JJ Watt calls him. TDCU where credit is due. Get that Texans debit card, tdcu.org/Texans, membership required, insured by NCUA. CJ Stroud has that debit card. At least he says he does. He played good today. CJ Stroud was fantastic. I thought he was good last week against Kansas City as well. Let's hear what he had to say about his performance. 6th straight win for the Texans, 3rd straight since he returned.
Just talk about one, just a balanced attack that you guys had today, to be able to run the ball, and then you got so many receivers involved, and then also just to follow up about Nico getting his 3rd season in a row with 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I think, that was a goal of ours, coming out the KC week, is just, not leaving anything out there, in the run or pass game. And I think, in practice, we communicated a bunch, and then it went to the game, and it went over to the game, and we executed at a high level. So I think it goes back to our preparation. I thought we did a good job of that. And, I'm just super proud of Nico. It's my brother, man. I miss him on a couple out there. I owe him a couple more, but I'm just really proud of him and, the work he's put in on his body, on his game, and I think, he's one of the best in the league, and he's proven every year. So let's keep this streak going.
How do you feel about how you guys are playing overall this long winning streak, and now y'all are in the thick of the playoff race?
Yeah, I think, like we started off a little rough, of course, and then, you want to be playing your best ball in December, going in January. And I think, since we're doing that, it's really good. But there's always things to improve on. And, we left a little bit out there, but I feel, like we got better than we did last week, and got better from the last week. And every week we just keep progressing. I think that's all we can do right now. Yeah, man, Jar's my dog, somebody, who I got to see come in and, put in work and been making plays for a long time at practice and camp, in preseason games. And, he gets a shot today, and I thought he took full advantage. He's a brother in Christ, and, I know he was relying on the Lord. And, I'm just super proud of him and, his ability, to make cuts and, set up blocks. I thought he did a great job, and he's super fast. So I try to get out there on one of them and block for him, and he's a little too fast for me. But I thought he did amazing today. I'm super proud of him.
Do you think it is for you all to sustain the type of run game that you all had today, for you all to be as successful as y'all want to be offensively?
Yeah, I think it's super important. We got to always, establish a line of scrimmage. That makes, the play action game and, the boot game a little easier, and then drawback pass as well. So, that's always a key to victory for us, is being able to run the ball, and it was one today, and I thought we did a good job of it.
We asked you a moment ago about Nico, but they caught y'all, speaking after they showed the graphic of him through the 3 years and the 1,000 yards. Just curious on if you could share a little bit of that moment. We saw you on the sideline celebrating, and then also the how clean the operation was. DeMeco was here talking about that, and that's something that we talked about during the week. What did you think about how clean you guys operate today?
Yeah, I think, me and Neek, we've been together for 3 years now, and somebody who I've seen work, like I said before, and just, done a great job, being a leader. He stepped up captain this year. To see his work pay off a little bit, is amazing and it's dope. So super proud of him in that. We just, showing each other love and like we always do. But and then, our operation, something that coach challenged us on this week, and that starts with me. And so I just got to be able to communicate in the huddle the right way and, do the right things to get us in the right position. So, I'm really happy with how we did it today. Of course, got a couple penalties on it, so we got to figure that out. But I thought overall we got better in that area.
You mentioned how going to all the different places, practice, training camp, preseason, obviously he gets his first shot. When you see him starting plays, rips off that 50-yard run, what is it like watching that in the moment and being a part of that, watching that up close?
It's surreal, man. I think, for me, I'm not really surprised because I know how good he is, but I think even for him, like just to see it you can see it in his eyes pregame. And I'm like, man, I'm here with you every play. Like, I got your back. Whatever you need, man, you let me know. And, he didn't really ask me any questions. He knew all the plays. He was prepared, making the right cuts, making the right reads, being good in pass protection. So I thought he stepped up big for us, man. And, I'm just super proud of him, So, I mean, he's been a baller. I think he's going to keep going.
CJ, one of the things I asked Demeco about was the offensive line. You said they finished blocks really well today. Can you just talk about the progression of the line that has really been coming together and from where you guys started, how you feel about that?
Yeah, I think, from, where we were in the beginning to now, we got our guys who we going to roll with, pretty much the rest of the season. And I think, they're doing a good job communicating. I think it starts with Jake, and Titus, those guys, being the leaders up there. And then Trent, and Ed and Tay, applying force and, being really good in the run game and pass protection. So, everything, starts with them. I think they've answered the bell, these last couple of games and done a really good job. And we're never perfect, but I just ask for them to give effort. And I think, it's amazing, the effort I see, me extending plays and then being the first ones down there, helping me up. I remember all those things. So really appreciative of those guys.
CJ, I wonder if you could describe William Marks' touchdown, the snap kind of went between your legs. It seemed to be some confusion. What happened?
None yet. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think, I probably said gun in the huddle or something. And, I went under center, I should have been in the gun. And then the ball snapped and, Jake still thought I was, under center. So, in the gun. So, I put that on me. I got to, be able to communicate. But, at least we got in the zone.
When you get a throw like that to go early in the game and your house is it like that, obviously already go into the game pretty confident guy. What does that do for, to confidence and the swag going forward to kind of start the game like that? I think it was like the second play of the game.
Yeah, it's always big. That was a goal of ours, was to start fast. So, I thought, Nick did a great job of creating separation. Before the snap, I'm like, hey, man, stay alive right here. Like they a lot of situations in there, we knew where they were going, man. So, he beat his man. I beat the help, and he, turned good into great.
What excites you most about how well you guys are playing right now and what you're able to do as a team?
I think, just three phases of football, we're playing together. I think, offensively, we're getting better every week, getting hot. So, we're getting hot at the right time. We're trending up, towards December, going into January. We got to just keep this going. It's going to be, one game at a time mentality, one play at a time mentality, then we'll look up at the end of the year and see where we're at.
You mentioned earlier you guys started a little bit slow, but since then, obviously, you guys have been, 9-2 since. From your perspective, what do you think is the biggest reason how you guys have been able to become one of the hottest teams in the league?
I think the finish, I think look back at those games, we were in the games and there's always plays here and there that you want back. But I think that at the end of the day, like when you got the ball or you need to stop, like we want to be the guys on the field. So, I think the ability that we're finishing with now, in these close games and, in games like this, take care of business when we need to. So for me, I think it's the finish, and us, playing hard every play all the way to the end and then, pulling out the dub. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, there you go. That's CJ Stroud. Played his ass off. Again, he's been fantastic. And he is definitely one of the Texans turf kings of the game. And Texans turf is the king of the turf game. If you haven't done this yet, you need to. If you've been thinking about getting turf and you've even gone through the process, you probably bailed on it because it sucks. A lot of these guys are slime balls. They rip you off. They act like the job's not big enough and it has to be this much for us to even show up. It's disgusting. And I was almost ready to quit the process of shopping for turf until I came across Dan and his guys. They've done some of the biggest names in town, biggest names that y'all know very well in town. And they've done a lot of my neighborhood, which is just a small little neighborhood in the burbs. No job too big, no job too small. They got you covered. There's no more of the insects, no more of the mud, whether you want a playing surface, putting green, or you just want that shiny, always green, always clean turf. They got you covered. TexansTurf.com. Trust me, the process of looking for turf is rough, but I was a customer before I started spreading the word and developing the partnership with Dan and his team. TexansTurf.com. Trust me, you will not regret it. Always green, always clean. And in the spirit of the greatness that is Texans Turf, after every post-game show, this one and Reaction Monday, SNL with myself and Cody Stoots. Join us at BB's Kingwood this Friday and Spanky's on the 2nd of January, maybe this weekend too. I present the kings of the turf. Turf King 1, the quarterback, CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, you're going to have to make plays despite the offensive coordinator, despite the offensive process, and CJ Stroud's done that. Started off right off the top, in rhythm to Nico Collins. And we saw it throughout the game, whether it was connecting on third down, whether it was buying time, whether it was deciding when the right time to throw it away was. CJ Stroud was good. He was really, really good. And this is what you want to see from him. There's not really going to be a big test until perhaps 2 weeks against the Chargers, but the fact that he kept the mindset and the offense was able to get the job done, it's never going to be perfect. CJ Stroud, Turf King number 1. Turf King number 2, this one's surprising. And right here on the chat, you have Tyler saying Jordan being as good as he was is another indicator of how poorly this organization evaluates offensive talent. The running back position has been frustrating. That's one thing. But the good thing is, fortunately, you got to see Jawar Jordan today. And maybe you do have some juice at running back. We said it at training camp. Nick Chubb has the least amount of juice of any of these running backs. This wasn't Jawar Jordan was there. Jawar Jordan gets let go. He gets brought back. Nick Chubb gets hurt. We get to see Jawar Jordan. We might not have seen him had that not happened. But now you might have another element of this offense. You might have the ability to perhaps add to Woody Mark's skill set while letting him ice up and not be on the field, running into a wall as much as he has. This is huge. And Jawar Jordan was great. It doesn't get much better than best debut in franchise history. And that's exactly what he did. Most yards in franchise history for an NFL debut. Turf King number 2, Jawar Jordan. And we want to see more of this, see what this looks like, and see how far this can go. Turf King number 3, presented by Texans Turf. Tied the franchise record for most receptions by a tight end in a game, Dalton Schultz. We talk about toughness. Dalton Schultz is one of the faces of toughness. You get Dalton Schultz in a contract year where essentially he's playing for his NFL life. He's really, really good. And that has been the one thing. That's been one thing that Nick Caley has definitely done better than Bobby Slowick, is not putting Dalton Schultz in situations that he probably shouldn't be in. Dalton Schultz was great today. He had the touchdown. He had 8 catches. I thought the tight ends as a whole were as good as they could be. I think it was Texans drive 5. The tight ends looked great, Stover and Schultz. You saw both tight ends making plays at the same time. Dalton Schultz was fantastic. He's Turf King 3. Turf King 4, you only had 3 catches, but 2 of them were touchdowns. And you set the tone right off the top. Seems like that happens a lot with Nico Collins, doesn't it? You think about the Indy game in 2023. That's the ultimate example of it. But Nico Collins right off the top sets the tone, scores the touchdown. They never really look back. Same thing here against Arizona. He scores the touchdown. They end up taking the 7-0, then 10-0 shortly after that. Nico Collins, Turf King, number 4. He surpasses 1,000 yards, which is bare minimum. Let's be honest. And then Turf King 5. It was a struggle there for a little bit. And quite frankly, they've overcome the effort of special teams a few times. But Frank Ross's special teams, this could have been a close game without them. Whether it was Knowles' returns, whether it was the forced fumble, the kickoff, Tommy Townsend's one punt, special teams were fantastic. And the Texans don't win this game without they might win this game. It might have been closer. I don't want to say they wouldn't have won, but special teams was definitely the best phase today of the 3. Let's go back to the chat here in the locker room post-game show.
Swarm.
Oh, wait, Colts up 6-3. Phillip Rivers looks rough, by the way. I feel like I'm watching pros versus Joes right now. But the defense has come to play for Indianapolis. They're up 6-3. So that'll be fun to watch after we go off the air. Ricardo says, Sting injury opinions. No, oblique, right? Don't know. I mean, maybe he rests up. Corner's definitely banged up between him and Lassiter. I don't know the specifics of it. I just know it was an oblique. We'll see. Tough dude, Derek Stingley, but you don't really – I mean, obviously you want Derek Stingley on the football field. So unless something new is dropped that I've missed, opinion, don't know how serious it is. Obviously, Derek Stingley's important. Hopefully you can err on the side of being able to rest him a little bit. Indianapolis falling apart would help, although their defense came to play. They're rallying around Phillip Rivers. Key moments in the game. Let's go through them real quick. Nico Collins right off the top, the 57-yard touchdown to make it 7-0 early. That set the tone. That set the tone, and that kind of you were thinking maybe there could be some sort of letdown. This kind of eliminated it. And if that didn't eliminate it, then Jamal Hill's hit shortly after that resulted in a field goal. Texans offense stalls in the red zone. Tell me if you've heard that before. But Jamal Hill hit leads to the 2-possession lead. Texans take a 10-0 lead. And it was an early, I said this, and it continued throughout the game, but it was an early third phase ass whooping that set the tone for the Texans. The special teams set the tone. I didn't even mention Jalen Knowles' return to open the game that went to near midfield that led to the touchdown. Then you had the Jamal Hill thing, and the special teams immediately set the tone. Then Woody Marks, he leaves the game injured. I think it's the 6th time that this has happened. He leaves the game to injured, and I asked myself, is it time to ice up? You heard Demeco Ryans say that Woody could have come back in the game, but he was comfortable with Jawar Jordan. That was after Woody did come back in the game and scored on that fluke-ass play that was created by just a lot of good football by CJ Stroud along the way. We'll dive more in depth into that tomorrow on Reaction Monday, SNL Reaction Monday, most likely at 2 o'clock. We'll let you know depending on when the media schedule drops. Have we gotten that yet, the media availability? Not yet, but most likely 2 o'clock. But we adjust to the media availability because me and Stoots are out there at practice throughout the week. But Mark's re-entered, and then he leaves the game again. Texans actually tie the franchise record for most first quarter points, 17. Can't do much better than that. Jawar Jordan, we talked about him breaking a record, 17 points in the first quarter. Really, really good. And then, my God, I feel bad. And I know a lot of you people, and I do mean you people, are going to be able to relate to this in one way or another. The McBride fella. I picked the under on touchdowns. I was wrong. Because the fantasy hero that was McBride emerged. And that's where heroes are made. That's where heroes are made right here. Your fantasy playoffs have begun. If you had McBride, you've been happy all season. You're very happy right now. He scores the touchdown. There will be plenty more where that came from. 12 catches today and 2 touchdowns. He makes it 17-7. Then a Fairbairn 55-yarder makes it 20-7. Fairbairn, reliable still. Only one that he misses will be in a sec. But to quote Mystical, it was definitely not his fault. was not his fault. So then you have a Blake Fisher penalty in which he apparently didn't report eligible. But Demeco Ryans, I don't think I've ever seen Demeco Ryans that pissed. And this was actually on the drive where Fairbairn kicked the field goal. Demeco Ryans, he's usually pretty mild-mannered, pretty even keel. I don't think I've ever seen Demeco Ryans that pissed. So apparently he thinks that Blake Fisher did report eligible. I saw someone asked him about it and kind of set him up for it and said he saw it. But yeah, Demeco Ryans pissed off, very, very angry about that Fisher thing. Then you go to the Houston fifth drive. This one was a tight end party. You talk about multiple tight ends. Dalton Schultz doing his thing. Cade Stover doing his thing. But then the offense stalls at the 5-yard line to take a 23-7 lead. The Dare Ogunbowale Wildcat, probably something that we want to get rid of. But the Texans still up 23-7 after a blocked field goal. They get the ball at midfield, and then poor blocking leads to a Calais Campbell blocked field goal. So the Texans take a 23-7 full 2-possession lead, as I call it, because you need the 2 touchdowns and the 2-point conversions. The 16-point lead into the half. Then at the start of the third quarter, Arizona, kind of a desperation opportunity. The ball goes through Wilson's hands. Good coverage by Lassiter, and he gets the interception to start the third quarter. Backflip with the guy with the hurt foot. Maybe it's just because I've never even in my wildest dreams dreamed of doing a backflip, but I don't know if I want Kamari Lassiter with the hurt foot doing the backflip. He did it, though. Kind of landed it, I guess. But the Texans stop Arizona from scoring. Lassiter backflip with a back foot. I said backflip. I'm typing as the game goes on, but no, thank you for that. And then Jawar Jordan, large dose of him leads to a Schultz touchdown to give the Texans the 30-7 lead, which had me just revisiting the camp op that Nick Chubb had less juice than any of the running backs. And then we see Dare Ogunbowale contributing. We see Jawar Jordan contributing, and we saw Woody Marks contributing. And the running backs as a whole, without Nick Chubb, it looked like they had a little more juice. Now, it is the Arizona Cardinals, so you do have to say that. But I do think it kind of makes you wonder, as we go back to that evaluation, good news is you got another running back to look at. You got potentially more juice. Bad news, that's what it took. Then McBride scores another touchdown. He's building legendary status for fantasy owners, or legendary disgust, depending on if you're going against him. Texans still with a 30-16 lead. But then Jalen Noel, I thought this was very underrated clutch, because with that 2-possession lead, he has a 69-yard return in which the Texans offense does stall, but they end up extending it to a 3-possession lead after the Noel return, which is kind of some breathing room. Then Wilson scores a touchdown. I'm sure some people were questioning the defense here because the standard is so high. He makes it 33-20. And then you just keep hearing Mark Schlereth just talking about, oh my God, this team never quits. You got to give Arizona credit for not quitting. Then Nico Collins adds the FU touchdown to make it 40-20. And that's where things sit. By the way, I made a note. Just throw out the Dare Ogunbowale Wildcat. We can get rid of that, Nick. I know you're trying, but let's get rid of that if you don't. Nick. So that's where we're at. Texans improved to 9-5. All the teams that you really needed to win, to get greedy, they end up losing, although the Chiefs are officially dead. Colts right now hanging in there. They got some momentum. Phillip Rivers isn't doing much, but the pieces around him are. I swear if they win this game, I'm going to be so disgusted. But it is what it is. We'll see how it goes. Always good to talk about wins more so than losses. Reaction Monday tomorrow on SNL around 2. Texans Collective at 6. Locker Room post-week outlook. That should be interesting at 10:30. We'll have new updated percentages as well as reaction to what happens with this Colts game and a final look at this game and the picture moving forward, which is a clear picture. You're in very, very strong control of your playoff destiny. Colts losing makes it even better. So we will see. It is a close game. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Download the Sleeper app, play along, and also be sure to use that Texans turf and that TDECU Texans debit card. Appreciate y'all for rolling through. A dub is a dub, but we like to dive in and assess the gray area as well. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good weekend. See you at BB's this Friday, perhaps Spanky's to watch some college ball on Saturday. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we